reflecting on the days to help you forget. Make it taken on me to back you down, 'cause life's marching on, it's not waiting around. So get up, break and break some ground. Make your own revolution.
Have you ever wondered how two people who are married can play beautiful music together? Well, tonight we're going to find out how, because we're going to talk with Rich Labuti and Melanie Kramer of SIRSY. Welcome to Laughter and Inspiration. I'm Connie Bramer. Thanks so much for joining me. I'm glad you could join us for the show. Tonight, I'm so excited because I'm introducing to you the dynamic duo SIRSY, Melanie Kramer and Rich Labuti.
Hello.
How are you guys?
Good. How are you?
I am doing awesome. So I wanted to tell them how I know you. So
Yes.
Melanie and Rich last year were the headliner for my event, for my foundation, Get Your Rack Bags event, Rackapalooza. We had so much fun and you guys were
Yeah,
so
we did.
awesome. Yeah, it was a great time. And, you know, in fact, I am going to tell people that the intro to my podcast is written by you.
It
And-
is.
Yes. And honestly, the song has such a meaning to me. It's called Revolution, and it's got a little funky. I like it.
Yeah,
And
it's got some sass, just
it's-
like you.
It's got major sass, and I play the flute, but not as well as Melanie. And Melanie plays the flute on that. And you know what? I've never tried to figure out, like, how do you make it like so vibrato-ish when you do
Well,
it?
I'm playing with very improper technique. I actually had an amazing flutist. She's a music teacher, and she asked me for a flute lesson. And I said, "What are you talking about? You can play circles around me on the flute." And she said, "But I can't do that thing that you do."
Yeah.
So it's of course inspired by Ian Anderson of Jethro Tull, and it's just like a double tonguing technique where you kind of do this trill with your tongue while you're playing, and it's kind of like rock and roll flute. So,
Okay, well, I have a confession to make. I still have my flute. I still have my piccolo. I sold my saxophone, but I tried to do it on my flute. And I was like spitting
So-
all over the place. Like, I'm like,
here's
what
the
am
advice
doing?
here's the advice that I gave to her. Everything that you learned about playing the flute and the proper way you're supposed to play the flute,
Throw it out.
throw it out the window and just do it wrong, and you can do it like I do it. So there you go.
My band conductor from college would be very upset if I
Yes,
did that.
absolutely.
That's
Yes.
right. So I wanted to ask you like some burning questions that some of my friends who were at the event wanted to know.
Okay.
So you ready? Okay.
Yes.
So how did you guys meet? Okay. How long ago was it? And how did you decide to become SIRSY?
Well, it all started with the dinosaurs, and there was a meteorites. And, well, I don't know. It was can you say it was a long time ago?
No, I mean,
No, I'm asking how long ago was it?
yeah. So it's been 20 years.
It's been 20 years.
It's
yeah.
been 20 years. So we met each other in a basement studio in Latham, New York.
In the Latham.
And I tell you
And-
that just sounds a little creepy. I
It
met him in a
does.
basement studio.
It does. I answered in, well, I met this guy. I was at a Star Trek movie, and I met this guy who told me that he was looking for a singer for this cover band he was putting together, and would I be interested in auditioning? So I went to the audition, which was in this studio, and I met this guy who was playing the bass, and he had a Star Wars shirt on. And I thought, who is this fellow?
Nailed it.
And so we started talking, and we became friends. And it was a disco cover band. We played a lot of disco, and we got bored very quickly with that band and left and started SIRSY and started writing songs together.
Mhm.
So there
Well,
you go.
The thing that I can't fathom is, you know, I took music in college, and I took a class where I had to write music and write the chords. And I was like, oh my God, please shoot me. Like it's hard.
Yes.
So how, like, what is your writing process? Like, cause I have to tell you one quick story. I wake up every day with a song in my head. It's the weirdest thing. And then it's crazy because I'll hear it on the radio or it'll be on my phone. You know, like one day it was like, I like big butts and I cannot lie. I'm like, where's that coming from? But usually, usually it's love is a cannonball. And I'm like, damn her. Why is that in my head in the morning? And I've even messaged you and told you that it's in my head.
Yes. You sing it to me sometimes.
I know I do.
Which makes my day. It makes my day.
Well, that's good. That's good.
Yes.
So how is your writing process? Like, do you work on lyrics first? Like, how do you do it?
They're all a little bit different. I would say lyrics generally are one of the last things. Cannonball, I remember very specifically how that started because Melanie was out doing something and I just had some time and I had a bunch of ideas that I kind of like guitar chord progressions and riffs that I kind of wanted to record. And so I recorded like 10 things, just little nuggets of ideas. And there was like 9 of them that I really liked. And then there was this one other thing. And I like a cat presenting a dead mouse to Melanie when she got home. I said, here's all these things I wrote. And I said, I really think you're going to like this one. You're going to like this one. And so
I get full veto power.
Yes.
Well, that's good.
She listened to the first 9. She's like, yeah, because that one's okay. That one's okay. And I was like, not happy with the response I was getting. So I said, well, I have this other thing. And it was just basically a riff. And it was, she's like, what's that? She's like, I love that. And I go, that's the one thing that I thought you weren't going to like. So then, we just started working on that.
Yeah.
And it kind of just grew from that initial riff.
So one of the big things that people ask me, especially after the Rackapalooza, and I have to say one of my friends who shall remain nameless is like in love with you, Melanie. He goes, I love her. Like, how does she sing like that and play the drums? And he goes, I can't even walk and chew gum. And I'm like, well, I already know that about you. So you're definitely not going to drum and sing a song. So it's just incredible to watch you because you're just so into it. I love it. So how, like, Rich, here's my question, because you guys sound like a full band, like not 2 people.
Yeah.
So you are playing a couple of things at least, right? Like, what are you doing?
Well, Melanie's doing most of it.
No.
She is. I'm playing all the guitar parts, obviously. And then I have basically a keyboard at my feet where I can play some of the bass parts. But really, I'm playing probably only about half of them. And Melanie is playing the other half of the bass parts with basically a keyboard she hits with a stick on her drum.
Yeah, there's like a little square thing that's mounted on my drum kit. And sometimes people are like, what do you have on there? Are you watching TV on that thing? What is that? And it's like a little keyboard that I have set up. Rich and I both play some piano. So it's set up like a keyboard and I hit it with my drumstick and I'm playing bass parts with that. So Rich and I are trading off bass parts. And then as you know, Connie, I throw in the occasional flute solo.
Yes. Well, my brain is like, because people can't figure it out. I mean, that must have taken, because you guys had a band before, right? With more people.
Yeah. So when we started, we were a 2-piece that played acoustic. And we played like just acoustic guitar, guy with the acoustic guitar, girls singing, playing the tambourine, more like what you expect.
I am trying to imagine you just playing a tambourine. Like,
but like more what you expect when you hear this is a duo, right? Yeah. And we were writing these songs that were more, full on rock songs that needed a band. And so we had 2 other people, and Rich really would play the bass more then. And we had 2 other people that played either guitar or drums. And we went through, this revolving door of guitarists and drummers. And we played with some really great people, but we could never find 2 people that were on the same nerdy, crazy page as us.
Yeah.
And so we decided, let's just figure out how to play all the instruments ourselves and go back to being a 2-piece, but play it like a full band. And so that's what we did.
Honestly, it is really incredible.
Thanks.
It really is. It is. Thanks. So, Melanie, I don't know if you're okay talking about it, but Melanie and I are also in this club of sorts because we're both breast cancer survivors. And I joke with people in a way that, like, I was in a sorority. I still am in a sorority. And we used to dance on tables. Like, I drank beer out of a boot in a bar. I don't even remember, like, who the guy was. It was, like, something like Kick the Boot or some ridiculous thing at this bar. And I drank freaking beer out of this guy's boot. But anyway.
Delicious.
Right. Yeah. Yum. So now we're not in that, but like having cancer.
Yeah.
Specifically breast throws you into almost like a sorority of sorts where, you know, you're interwoven with each other based on like treatment and that same feeling that you go through, and like the journey, like everybody's journey is different, but there's cohesion in it because we all share this kinship. So my question to you about that is, how has that changed the facet of what you're doing with your band? Because I know that, like, I mean, you and I talk about breast surgery and how it affects drumming. I mean, when I have my bilateral mastectomies, I had to learn to crawl my arm up a wall, both of them.
Yes.
You know, it's a very, people think, you know, people who don't know, Mel, like don't know. Like they think you
Yes.
just take them off. You're like, good to go. Got a
It's
new
no big
rack.
deal.
Yeah.
Right.
It's a very, very long process of constantly fixing things. You know,
Yes.
and you
and
and I
not just physically, but mentally, it's a long process, and it's something that greets you every day, and you have to try to wrap your head around how you're going to let it affect your day. And it's a lifelong journey, like you said, and it changes you, and you try to just let it change you for the better.
That's what I think too. Like when I look at myself, I know it's totally changed me for the better. I'm stronger. Like I think we realize we're stronger than we ever knew we were, you know, that we could be.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I wanted to ask you some more burning questions, and I wrote them down because I don't want to like screw this up. All right. I am a spaz. So everybody who knows me knows that. All right.
In a good way.
In a good way. In a fabulously good way. Okay. So if you could turn back time, this is a question for both of you. And Rich, I'm really excited to hear your answer. So if you could turn back time and talk to your 18-year-old self, what would you tell him or her? Imagine being 18 again. My son is 18. I look at him and I'm like, you have no idea like how much time you have ahead of yourself.
Oh, youth is wasted on the young for sure.
It is,
I would
for sure.
say for my 18-year-old self, I would say none of this matters. Like this thing that you're focusing on, none of it matters. When I was 18, I was a straight A student. I was trying to get perfect grades. I was trying to, you know, get into the right college. I was very career driven. I was very, you know, I mean, I still am very hard on myself, but I was much worse then. And none of that little stuff at the end of the day, none of that matters. You have to be able to find a way to slow down and enjoy the moment. And I still work on that every day, but at least I get that now, whereas I didn't get that before. I never gave myself a break when I was a kid. You know, I always pushed myself and nitpicked, and none of that matters.
Well, and I'm not going to interrupt you, Rich, because I haven't started talking yet, but I wanted to speak to that because like when you have cancer, you're in the moment and dealing with it. And I remember, and I get mad at myself because I fall into this trap all the time, because before I had cancer, I'd be like, oh my God, where do I have to be? I'm like, I'm a total type A person. It's really, and it's a total adjustment to not be. I don't think I will ever not be. It's my cross to bear. So when I had cancer, I had to learn to like live in the moment, live in the day, and be like, okay, I got to get through the day. I got to get through this chemo, you know, the 4 sessions or however many it was. Like I have to get through these things, and then you get better. And I remember like saying to myself my last week before my chemo was up, I can't wait to be better and just get out and like do everything I want to do. Did you feel like that too? Like I just can't wait to get out and do stuff. And then I find myself going back to my type A-ness, and then I get mad at myself.
Yeah.
Do you do that?
Yes. I am definitely a perfectionist, and I'm very hard on myself, and I judge myself harder than I judge other people. And I constantly have to stop myself and say, okay, now if this was your friend and you were talking to your friend, how would you judge your friend? What would you tell your friend? And why
you tell her to chill the hell out? So
right. And why don't you tell these same things to yourself?
Right.
You know, but when I was 18, I totally wasn't even, at least now I'm aware that I'm doing it and I work on it.
That's true.
You know, but back then I didn't. And I, you know, kind of burned myself out when I was 18. I was I went to college. I was pre-law, and I was going to go to law school.
Wow.
And yeah, and I sat for my LSATs, and in the middle of the test, I was like, I had an epiphany, and I said, I don't want to do this with my life. This doesn't make me happy, and I want to be happy. And I just walked out of the test, and I never looked back. So,
well, if it's any consolation, what you guys do now makes a lot of people happy. I mean, just look around the crowd when you guys are playing. It's incredible. And you have such a following. People follow you all over. And I want to talk more about your tour, but I got to get to Rich's question. Thing. So Rich, when you were 18, if you could tell your 18-year-old self, you would have said, in a few years, I'm going to meet the wonderful Melanie Kramer, and we're going to live happily ever after and play gigs all over the country. But no, really, what did you say? What would you say?
It's interesting that you would pick 18 because that was kind of like a unique moment in my life. I feel like for the first 16 or 17 years of my life, I was, maybe a typical boy, and I was raging against the machine. I was like, fuck the man, I'm going to do what I want. And I, can I swear?
You can swear. Fuck it. You can swear.
F the man. I remember I used to do yard work on the weekends for my uncle, just, to make some extra money. And I never used to like to shave. And he said, what are you going to do someday if you have a job where you have to shave every day? And my answer was, I never want that job. I never want a job where I have to, do that. So I felt like at the beginning of my life, I lived like that. And then at 18, I went to RPI. I grew up in Rhode Island, but I went to RPI. And then my worldview changed a little bit between like the ages of 18 and 25. And I don't want to say I got brainwashed, but my life became more about like, oh, well, what degree is going to get me the best starting salary when I graduate from college, and just all that stuff. And music took a really huge back seat in my life in that time period. And then by the time I got frustrated with that regimented life in RPI and I went back to music, that's when I feel like I lived my life on my own terms and was happy. So I would tell my 18-year-old self, don't go to college. Just, learn on your own.
Don't tell my kids that right now.
I know. I'm still paying for it. And I've made a living for the last 20 years playing music in a rock band. Like that was always my dream. If your dream is to be an engineer, then that's great. I fully support that. I still love science and I was a very good student, but I feel like, it just wasn't the right path for me. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And I don't know how kids do it today, because that not to go off on a tangent, but that whole mechanism seems broken. Like when I was in high school, it was like, of course I'm going to college and I'm going to get this degree and get that. But it's like, even before the whole pandemic thing, it seemed very an uphill battle for kids today to go get $80,000 in debt and then maybe not get a job. It's kind of frightening.
Listen, I've got 2 kids right now and a 3-year overlap of them in college, and my daughter's going to become a nurse and my son's becoming a mechanical engineer. But still, they're going to have some debt because they have to have some skin in the game. Because back in the day, I went to Plattsburgh State, and again, I told you I drank out of a boot, right? So I was having fun, and my parents paid for my education, and probably, I did okay. I did pretty well, but I think I would have done better and been more into it if I had skin in the game, So that was the decision that their father and I made. We're like, you kids have to have some skin in the game. So they're doing it. But, the whole pandemic thing has changed how they do everything.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's been crazy. So now, like, we don't even know what's happening in the fall. And my daughter plays soccer for her college, and we don't even know if they're going to be doing that. And I guess now they're going to be having class from the end of August through November. And then they're done and they're doing remote learning. So it's a weird time. So I wanted to ask you guys, with that weird time, like, what have you guys been doing? Because I know you can't do your gigs. You can't travel all over. I've watched a few of your home gigs with acoustic. So what are you doing?
I've found a few things to do.
We've been doing regular live streams. We have a studio in our basement, much like that creepy studio that we met in
that's right, yeah,
in Latham.
A creepy studio, basement studio, seemed to be our destiny.
We built one in our house when we first moved in here, and we do a lot of our recording there. So we have been doing live streams every Saturday night, and we get a few thousand people to join us every time they watch our videos, which is kind of cool. And we feel connected that way. And it's a creative outlet for us, and it's a way to
Engage with
I mean,
people.
for us, the whole reason we play music is to connect with other people. And so it's a way for us to continue to be connected, even though we're not all in the same room. And we get really wonderful messages from people. And so that's great. And we've written some new songs, and
I can't wait to hear them.
yeah, we're recording them, and we're being creative. Our show coming up is a film noir themed show. So we're doing
On Friday, this coming Friday for
this Saturday. Yeah,
Saturday,
we're
okay.
doing a mystery show, and so we
Who
try to
killed
find
Mr. Smith in
Yes.
the basement? It was a
And we put on
candlestick and Rich
skits.
Labooty.
Yes, we put on skits, and so it's it's been a way for us to try to stay creative.
Yeah.
And yeah.
I love that. I love that. All right. Well, a couple last things before we hang up. And I love hanging out with you guys. I'm really glad to see you.
Likewise.
So one of the things that I do on our Facebook page for Speaking to the Heart Podcast Network for the Laughter and Inspiration is I am always scouring, trying to find like really funny things to post. Because and my daughter, these kids, they don't like come downstairs to say what is happening. They FaceTime me and say, Mom, what are you laughing about? Because I'll be at night like laughing hysterically about the things. So here is a phrase I found, and I want to get your reaction.
Okay.
Marry someone who has a different favorite cereal than you, so they won't eat all of yours. So what's your favorite cereal? Do you guys eat cereal?
Yes.
Do you eat the same cereal?
Sometimes, but not usually. No.
Okay.
I'd say my favorite is cinnamon kashi.
Oh, so he's healthy.
Yes.
Oh, he's really
Okay.
healthy.
All
For
right,
breakfast, anyway.
Yeah. I mean, am I going like, okay, first of all, I kind of don't like cereal. I hate cereal in
okay.
the morning. I love cereal as a treat, as a snack.
Oh, me too. Me too.
But in the morning, I have a hard time eating cereal in the morning because I know that I have to eat something responsible. And
Adult.
So basically your cinnamon kashi is totally fine. It's like you're no one's
So-
touching
Yes.
that.
Yeah.
yeah, so if I was to choose my actual favorite cereal, I think it would be Frosted Flakes.
Ooh.
Oh, that's a good one.
But I don't actually ever buy that. But that's my favorite cereal.
Well, here's a funny cereal story for you for the week.
Okay.
So my son poured himself a bowl of Lucky Charms.
Yeah.
Goes in the fridge, realizes there's like this much milk and says, oh, we need milk. I'm like, dude, you're 18. You got a car. You got $4. Hit it.
Go get milk. Right.
So he comes back. And when he came back, I had eaten all the marshmallows.
That's the only good part, anyway.
He goes, what is this? He goes, what do I? So I took some out and gave it to the dog, put more it was really hilarious. So to kind of sum things up, Mel, when you and I have talked about like what I say to some of the cancer patients that I write letters to. And I don't know if I said this to you when I wrote you a letter, but I always tell patients that it's important to keep a gratitude journal. Like I did it when I was going through my cancer, and it really helps put you in a positive mindset. So I would write down 3 things every night before I went to bed that I was grateful for. So like, for instance, one day that I had a horrible, horrible day, I wrote 1, woke up. 2, didn't puke all day, and 3, had milk for the kids' cereal, which obviously I didn't have the other day. But what would you guys say would be 3 things you're grateful for today?
3 things I'm grateful for today.
Yeah, between the two of you, you guys can make it up together.
My first one would be I'm thankful for Melanie.
Yeah.
Okay,
I'm thankful that
one.
I'm thankful that I got to marry my best friend. Yeah.
That's so awesome.
Yeah, that's real. Not just because he's sitting here.
Yeah,
I'm thankful that I'm healthy and alive.
absolutely.
I would say the same thing. I mean,
Yeah.
they say, if you have your health, you have everything.
That is totally true.
Every day.
You guys
I mean,
know that.
I personally did not have cancer, but I mean, obviously, Melanie did, and that's an eye opener every day to how important your health is.
Yeah.
Just to your overall happiness in life.
Absolutely.
So.
Yeah, I had it twice.
Yeah.
So
I know. You are
had to
a
learn
serious
that lesson
warrior.
for some
Yeah.
reason. I thought I learned it the first time, but the universe had other plans for me. For me, the third one would be that that my job is something that I love. I feel really lucky and blessed that I have a job that I love. A lot of people don't get that.
No, that's totally true. And you know, it's so funny
Very
because
lucky.
you think about like when I was in college and because I was into music and my parents were like, you need a backup plan. So what's so great about you two is that your first plan has worked for you and it's blossomed into this beautiful thing, you know, that we all get to enjoy. So how can people find you?
You can find us at SIRSY.com. That's SIRSY.com. And from there are links to our YouTube and our Facebook and our Instagram and Twitter and all those wonderful things.
Or if you just stick your head out a window and yell SIRSY, we'll probably come. So
we come,
yeah.
just send out the bat signal and we'll come running.
You guys, thank you so much for being on Laughter and
Thanks for
Inspiration.
having us.
You
Thanks
guys
for
are so awesome. And you know what? Everybody else, we'll catch you next time. Bye, guys.
Bye. Thank you.
Okay. Bye.
I was going to say, and I'm grateful to have met you. And
and I am grateful to have met you.
I mean that.
Best.
So
no, I am too. You are the best. I really appreciate it.
Been there for us in some of our darkest hours, and we appreciate that. Thank you.
Well, we love you guys.
Likewise.
All right. Bye, guys.
Bye.
Hi.
Thanks so much for hanging with me for this podcast. It was so much fun, and SIRSY is just awesome. I love them. So if you want to know more about me, SIRSY, or this particular episode, please check out our interactive show notes on speakingtotheheart.org. Remember, it's important to always leave people better for having known you. I'll catch you next time.
Make it take an army to back you down, 'cause life's